Good morning. This is Monday, February 26th. I'm Ron. Welcome to Storytime. And good morning. This is a Storytime Extra. And today, it is not the left that is hurting this country, but the right. That's correct. It is not the socialists in this country that are hurting the country as much as it is the conservatives, the Republicans that are hurting this country. And I say that because for two reasons. Republicans, number one, don't know how to clean house. And number two, because they don't know how to deal with socialists and don't understand socialists, excuse me, don't understand socialists and how to deal with them and how to defeat them. In the first part, cleaning house, there is a phrase or an acronym called RHINO, Republicans in name only. And there are lots of rhinos in our midst. People like John McCain, who take Republican money, accept Republican votes, and then turn around and vote and act like a Democrat, a socialist. Right now, by the way, John McCain seems to be has given up even his political leanings and political um, machinations and is now embarked on a crusade. He's now, I guess, sees himself as some sort of a political assassin or something like that, where he seems to want to defeat the president of the United States, who's in his own party, at all costs. And so it just seems to me he's made things personal, and I think he's just absolutely devoted to that. He's maniacally devoted to that and to destroying President Trump. And that's a shame. But, anyways, it is the people like Kasich, the Bushes, and John McCain, Senator John McCain, that are the rhinos. And those are the people that need to be confronted and they need to change. They've got to go make up their minds and go one of two directions: either become a Democrat and then go ahead with your socialist notions, or act like a Republican, back the Republican Party, and quit acting like a socialist, a Democrat. On Sean Hannity's show, there is during third hour, they have what they call the shootout. And the shootout is between a socialist, what Sean Hannity calls a liberal, and a conservative. And they'll pick a topic of conversation, and the two will have a debate. And nothing changes. At the end of the debate, the person on the left has not been persuaded in any way, shape, or form to change their mind about socialism. One of the tenets of socialism is something called dedication. It's also known by a slang term, being down for the struggle. And that if you're a good socialist, you are dedicated. You toe the Socialist Party line no matter what. It's another socialist tenet, which is the idea that debate is useless. Debate is fruitless. There's no reason to engage in debate. We all already know what it is we want. We want paradise, and so we should dispense with debate and go ahead and create a movement to get to socialist paradise, and that's it. So the only reason that the left is going to engage in a debate is for reasons of bad faith. They want to mock debate. They're going to use sophistry of all kinds to be able to frustrate people rather than acting in good faith to try to learn something or to try to reach a conclusion, to ultimately to figure out the truth. They're not interested in doing that. So again, in the example I'm using of Sean Hannity, at the end of the segment, Nothing has changed. The person on the left is still the left, and they're still unabashedly left. They have not learned anything, and they're defiant. They just remain defiant. So it's a waste of time. The better use of his time would be to have a rhino. Get a conservative versus a rhino and have those two people debate, with the idea being, again, to convince the rhino to do one of two basic things: either become a Democrat or knock off the socialist BS and become a true Republican, a true conservative. Because as long as the party is split and you have the party that is, like I said, can't clean house, you can't get rid of the people that are draining it of resources and are acting against the best interests of the party is going to be marginally effective at best. And we can see that every day in look what has happened recently in Congress with trying to get various pieces of legislation passed, and then guess what? Somebody like John McCain shows up, uh, votes no on a particular passage of a particular bill that's vital to Republican and some would argue national interests, and scuttle the whole thing. And so again, the issue of having votes, whether it's 60 votes or 52 votes or 51 votes, you got to be able to count on your people to do that. And if you know that there are people in the party that are working against the interests of the party, you should get rid of them. Put them on the spot, give them an ultimatum. Either be a Republican or get out. But don't waste our time, don't waste our money. Another thing is that the failure of Republicans, particularly conservative pundits, to understand the dynamics of the political process, the modern political process. Rush Limbaugh touches on it, and did so, I believe, on Friday when he was talking about being in constant campaign mode. And it seems to me that that's exactly what's going on right now. That politicians are doing anything and everything simply to gain money and votes. They're not looking at, so they're looking at every piece of legislation, every time they go on the radio, every time they make any sort of a public statement. What can I do here to get more money for the party and get more votes for the party, instead of, is this a piece of legislation that's going to benefit, at the very least, benefit the party, but hopefully benefit the country as a whole? Am I doing so, going from being in campaign mode to being in legislative mode, for instance, in the case of the legislature, where you're actually going to put aside your campaign, get down to the business of doing what's best for the American people. And they don't. Everything that they do is calculated to raise money and to get votes. If you need to realize that, especially if you're somebody like Sean Hannity, who's interviewing these people, having them on his show, and he, like Louis Gohmert, he really loves Louis Gohmert, thinks he's a great guy. And there's a lot of other guys that are in the what do they call it, the Freedom Caucus, that he's in favor of, and that he gives. He doesn't scrutinize these individuals. They can come on his show and they can get away with more than other Republicans, people that are not in the Freedom Caucus, can. He has a blind spot for them, and he shouldn't do that. He should realize that all of these politicians are in campaign mode constantly, and that everything they do, say, everything they vote on or about has to do with raising money and getting votes. Classic example of this is the memo, this whole thing about the Republican memo, the Democrat memo. The other thing, real quickly, as an aside, the dynamic of this campaign mode is really, you end up with, as it was described decades ago, only one real party then in Washington, and that is the incumbents. It's the incumbents versus the challengers, not the Republicans versus Democrats, but incumbents, and everybody in Washington is an incumbent. And so their job is basically, all of them, to keep their seat. And so they're going to very likely conspire together in various ways, shapes, or forms, subtle and not so subtle, to go ahead and do just that, to keep their seats and to keep money coming into the party. So, but in any case, with the memo, with regards to the memo, that's a case in point where the Republican Party talks about this memo that they have about the FBI and what the FBI did or didn't do and should or shouldn't have done regarding the getting a FISA warrant, going to court. And so the memo, there's a lot of leaking about, but in a very hinting kind of way. Oh, this is going to be explosive. Oh, this is going to be very dramatic. Oh, people are going to be absolutely outraged. And it seemed to me, again, right at the time, is guess what? While they're doing that, guess what's going to be happening? All the donors, the big donors in the Republican Party, are going to be getting letters. And they're going to get letters that say, oh, we've got this memo. It's a smoking gun memo. Oh, it's, the Democrats are awful and horrible and rascally, and they cheated and they lied, and you can't let them get away with it. You got to give us more money. Oh, and by the way, don't forget to vote. But what's interesting is the Democrats get to use it for the same purpose. Because the Democrats were out saying, oh, no, this is all false. This is the Republicans have gone off the rail. In some cases, they suggested the Republicans might be loony. And so their letters are going to go out to their campaign donors and say, look, the Republican Party is trying to smear the FBI, trying to damage our intelligence apparatus in an effort to save Donald Trump's hide. Don't let them get away with it. Send us money. Oh, and by the way, don't forget to vote. So, and too many times, Sean Hannity doesn't realize that's what's going on, and you can if you listen, you can tell he's getting the wool pulled over his eyes. All you have to do with Sean Hannity, if you want him to promote you, because that's what a lot of these politicians are looking for, is just simply promotion. If you get an endorsement from Sean Hannity, that could potentially be big. If you can get an endorsement from Rush Limbaugh, who rarely gives direct endorsements. Generally, he's speaking, he kind of hints around about how people should vote conservative, but doesn't always come right out and tell people vote for this candidate or that. But with Sean Hannity, he's much more direct, much more explicit about it. So if you can get Sean Hannity's endorsement, that's a coup. And getting his endorsement is simply getting on the phone with him and saying, Sean Hannity, you're absolutely right. You're one of the good guys. You flatter him as much as possible, and then you claim to be working alongside him, that you're doing the work that Sean Hannity is talking about, and then you put yourself thereby in Sean Hannity's good graces, and Sean Hannity is going to promote you and give you a pass on any contradictions or anything that you do wrong. And he hurts conservatism by doing that. He also hurts his integrity and his credibility, so that when he comes out and calls for action in various ways, shapes, or form, the call kind of falls flat. So that's it for today. Tomorrow, another chapter from Philosophy Who Needs It by Ayn Rand. Thank you very much for joining me, and have a great day.